just forgot to tell you that on this show you can't say, I don't know, or you'll get flying.
Gen X didn't grow up on YouTube. We had this: a talking flute, a magical hat dimension, and a newscast delivered by a new. These were actual TV shows Gen Xers loved. While kids today get focus group shows about feelings, we got animal costumes, psychedelic songs, and villains who'd give modern parents heartburn. If these strange shows were part of your childhood, whether you watched them in its first run or syndicated, that explains a lot about why you turned out the way you did. Yes, Gen Xers are pretty awesome. Now before we get started, hit that like button and subscribe to join our trip down memory lane. We drop new TV nostalgia videos every week. Now first up is a show that asks the important question. Number 9, you can't do that on television. Nickelodeon.
There's nothing I don't know about this program.
Before Nickelodeon became the polished kids network we know today, it was the Wild West of children's programming, and nothing epitomized this more than you can't do that on television. The premise was simple. A group of kids along with adult actor Les Ly playing a rotating cast of bizarre adults, including a burger joint manager serving mystery meat, a firing squad commander, and a teacher who chained students to the wall, performed in recurring sketches with a distinctly different tone from most children's shows of the era. This show is best remembered for 2 things: green slime and water. If you were to say the words "I don't know," you'd get doused with green slime from above. If you say water, you'd get drenched. This concept was so popular that getting slimed became Nickelodeon's signature gimmick for decades to come. What made You Can't Do That on TV particularly bizarre was how it gleefully tackled topics most kids' shows wouldn't touch: political satire, dysfunctional families, incompetent authority figures, and even jokes about child labor. One recurring segment featured kids trapped in lockers discussing the episode's theme, like tiny philosophers and metal boxes. The show ran for an impressive 10 seasons, cycling through different casts of kids as they inevitably aged out. Its most famous alumni? Alanis Morissette. Yes, that's something you ought to know. The green slime that became Nickelodeon's signature, Double Dare, anyone, was originally concocted from food leftovers including oatmeal and green gelatin. Some accounts suggest that early batches included ham. They eventually removed the ham after it started to, well, let's call it mature under the hot studio lights. Suddenly, those don't try this at home warnings make a lot more sense. Number 8, Land of the Lost, NBC. Land of the Lost stands as one of the more ambitious children's shows of its era. This Sid and Marty Krofft creation followed the Marshall family, Rick and his teenage children Will and Holly, who are rafting when they plunge over a waterfall and end up in a parallel dimension filled with dinosaurs, primitive cavemen, and the stuff of nightmares, the Sleestaks. Now, let's talk about these Sleestaks, and I dare you to try to say that 5 times fast. They were 7-foot-tall lizard people with bulging eyes moving at a pace that can only be described as nightmare in slow motion. The costume design seemed to be, what if we made the creature from the Black Lagoon even more unsettling? The slower they moved, the scarier they became because you had plenty of time to think about what would happen when they finally caught up to you. What made Land of the Lost particularly bizarre wasn't just its creatures, but its unexpected depth. The show hired legitimate science fiction writers, including Star Trek veterans, to craft complex mythology around the closed universe of The Land, mysterious pylons that controlled the environment, and an advanced Sleestak civilization. This was heady stuff sandwiched between cereal commercials. The special effects were ambitious for 1970s TV. The stop-motion dinosaurs moved with all the grace of a first grader's art project, but that somehow made them more charming. Despite running for only 43 episodes, Land of the Lost left an indelible mark on Gen X. So much so that Hollywood tried to revive it with a Will Ferrell movie in 2009, which burned through nostalgia faster than a Sleestak chasing you uphill. Number 7, The Great Space Coaster, syndicated.
And the No Gnu's is Good Gnu Show, the only TV Gnu's program guaranteed.
Come on board The Great Space Coaster. If that phrase just unlocked a core memory, congratulations! You survived one of the strangest syndicated shows of the early 80s. The premise was simple. Three humans board a magical space coaster, basically a roller coaster car with googly eyes, that takes them to a place called Coasterville. There, they meet a cast of Jim Henson adjacent puppets, including Go Riddle Gorilla, Edison the Elephant Inventor, and the undisputed star, Gary New, a news anchor who famously informed us that no news is good news. The show also featured a puppet named Speed Reader who would frantically read books at warp speed, usually missing the point entirely, which is actually a perfect metaphor for how network executives greenlit children's programming in the early 80s. The show bounced between life lessons, surreal sketches, and celebrity guests, some trying their best to engage with puppets that looked like they'd been sketched during a very creative staff meeting. The show ran in syndication for 5 years, bringing its brand of puppet-centric lunacy to kids across America, usually airing in the early morning hours when parents were too sleepy to question what their children were actually watching. Do you remember waking up early to catch the Great Space Coaster, or did you change the channel whenever Gary New appeared? Let us know in the comments below. Number 6, Zoobilee Zoo, syndicated. Welcome to Zoobilee Zoo, a 1986 children's series blending theatrical flair with imaginative storytelling. This syndicated show featured human actors in animal makeup playing Zoobles, animal-human hybrids who taught life lessons through song, dance, and barely contained theatrical energy. The show was led by Mayor Ben, a snow leopard portrayed by Tony Award winner Ben Vereen. Yes, a legitimate Broadway star chose to spend his days in snow leopard makeup singing about friendship, which I guess kind of relates to cats. Anyway, the 80s were a strange time for everyone, alright? Other Zoobles included Lookout Bear, an adventurous scout, Talkatoo Cockatoo, a talkative bird, and Van Gogh Lion, who just happened to be a painter. Each character had an artistic or expressive talent they showcased while teaching lessons about creativity and cooperation. The makeup existed in that perfect zone of being too elaborate to be simple face paint, but not comprehensive enough to be full animal suits. The result that we got was human faces with animal features that were simultaneously charming and deeply unsettling. It was like watching community theater performers who had raided a professional makeup department. Despite running for only one season, of 65 episodes mind you, Zoobilee Zoo remained in syndication for years, ensuring that a generation of kids grew up thinking it was normal for humans with animal faces to burst into song about sharing. Again, cats. Would you believe this parade of human-animal hybrids actually won a Daytime Emmy Award in 1987? Even the TV Academy recognized the show's distinctive costume design. And knowing that, there's hope for us all. We're at the halfway point of our countdown of the most bizarre kid shows that shaped Gen X. If you're enjoying this nostalgic trip, hit that like button and subscribe for more weekly dives into the pop culture that warped our collective childhoods. Now, let's continue with the countdown at number 5, Lidsville, ABC. If Lidsville was pitched to a network today, executives would immediately order drug tests for everyone in the room. This Sid and Marty Krofft creation centered on Mark, played by Butch Patrick, better known as Eddie Munster, a teenager who attends a magician show, falls into a giant top hat, and winds up in a world populated entirely by living, talking hats. Yes, hats, with faces and personalities, living in houses shaped like the hats they were, the 80s. The villain was the magician Hoodoo, played by Charles Nelson Riley with all the subtlety of a glitter bomb. Hoodoo cruised around in a flying hat while tormenting the good citizens of Lidsville, living hats with names like Colonel Poom, a pith helmet, and Madame Ring-a-Ding, a showgirl's headdress. The show's costume designs was like a glue gun and a pile of foam went rogue. The Kroffts created a visually distinctive world that, while only lasting 17 episodes, ensured that an entire generation would develop an unexplainable wariness around haberdasheries for years to come. Number 4, New Zoo Revue, syndicated.
It's a new Zoo Revue, coming right at you. It's the new Zoo Revue, coming right at you.
It's the new Zoo Revue, coming right at you. Now, with that earworm of a theme song, New Zoo Revue welcomed children into a world where human hosts Doug and Emmy Joe interacted with full-grown adults in animal costumes that fell right into the uncanny valley. The show featured three main animal characters: Henrietta Hippo, a southern belle with a glass-shattering giggle, Freddy the Frog, a fast-talking amphibian, and Charlie the Owl, the smart one who wore glasses and a mortarboard cap, because all smart characters in the 70s needed academic headwear. Each episode tackled moral lessons through stories, songs, and skits. The bizarre part wasn't the concept, but the execution. The animal costumes looked like they'd been designed by someone who'd only had animals described to them verbally. Henrietta's mouth rarely synced with her dialogue, creating a disorienting effect like watching a poorly dubbed foreign film. The show produced 196 episodes, ensuring that it would run in syndication for years, entertaining and occasionally confusing children across America with those unblinking costume eyes. Number 3. Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, NBC.
Sigmund, you are a rotten sea monster.
Sigmund, you're through.
Scram! Get out of here.
Sigmund and the Sea Monsters took the monster under the bed concept and turned it into something unexpectedly heartwarming, if you could look past the nightmare-inducing costume designs. The premise was that a friendly sea monster named Sigmund Ooze runs away from his family's cave because he's not scary enough. Two brothers living in a California beach town discover and befriend him, hiding him from their housekeeper and Sigmund's monstrous family in their backyard clubhouse. Sigmund, played by diminutive actor Billy Barty, looked like someone had dragged a mop through a vat of green slime, then glued on ping pong balls for eyes. He often expressed gloomy moods on the show, and fans recall phrases like, "I got the blahs." Sigmund's family had their own frightening vibe. His brothers, Blurp and Slurp, and his domineering mother, Sweet Mama, lived in a cave and frequently tried to drag Sigmund back home, often creating chaos for the humans around him. Their costumes looked like the Jim Henson Workshop had a serious deadline crunch and just started gluing random materials together. Lasting 29 episodes across 2 seasons, Sigmund managed to be simultaneously heartwarming and terrifying, a uniquely 70s combination that somehow worked. Remember that earworm theme song?
Nothing like a day out on the beach when all it does is rain.
It was actually performed by Johnny Whitaker himself, the same kid actor who played Johnny on the show. The composer, Danny Jansen, also wrote music for the Partridge Family, bringing the same peppy energy to both Sea Monsters and teen pop stars. Number 2. Zoom, PBS.
Zaboom, Babak's Thrubby Fubbive Ubbo, Baba Stubbin Mubas, Ubbo Tabu Wubbin Thrubby Fubbor.
Before kids were going viral on TikTok, they were sending recipes and riddles to a Boston P.O. box. Zoom was PBS's lo-fi answer to social media, a place where kids could see their own jokes, games, and science experiments come to life on TV, polyester shirts and all. This series featured 7 kids known as Zoomers in striped shirts performing viewer-submitted content. The premise was revolutionary. The audience partially created the show with a rotating cast of 49 different Zoomers cycling through during its run. What made Zoom particularly bizarre was its aesthetic, distinctly low-budget sets with minimal props and a DIY vibe that was part of its charm. Then there was Ubbadubby, a made-up language created by inserting ub before each vowel sound. So when Zoomers said, hubby, hubbawub, arubi, yobabub, I think I got the pronunciation right there, they were actually saying, hi, how are you? This linguistic quirk, along with segments like Zoom Play of the Week, where kids acted out imaginative stories, became playground sensations across America. The show aired 155 episodes in its original run, before being revived in the late 1990s for a new generation. That Boston P.O. Box address, Right to Zoom, ZOOM, Box 350, Boston, Mass. 02134, is permanently etched into the brains of countless Gen Xers who never actually wrote to it. You know a theme song has power when it survives decades unchanged. When PBS revived Zoom in 1999 for a new generation, they kept the original melody intact while updating everything else. That Boston P.O. Box jingle was apparently too perfect to mess with. Some earworms are truly immortal. Number 1. H.R. Pufnstuf, NBC.
The boat belonged to a kooky old witch who had in mind the flute to snitch from her broom broom in the sky.
At number 1, we have the grandfather of bizarre children's television shows, the show that launched the Croft psychedelic empire and permanently altered what networks thought they could get away with on Saturday mornings, H.R. Pufnstuf. The premise sounds like something from a creative writing exercise after questionable choices. Young Jimmy falls asleep in a boat that washes him ashore on Living Island, where everything, and we mean everything, is alive. He's rescued by the island's mayor, H.R. Pufnstuf, a friendly dragon who looked like the love child of a sports mascot and a parade float. Jimmy must avoid capture by the island's villain, Witchy Poo, who wants to steal his magical golden flute named Freddy. Oh, and Freddy the Flute talks, because of course he does. Everything on Living Island had a face. Trees, houses, boats, clocks, buttons, you name it, it had it. The sheriff was a talking owl, the clock was a British accented person in a clock costume, and Pufnstuf himself looked like a dragon designed by someone whose only reference was a child's drawing of a friendly monster. The Crofts have consistently denied any influence beyond imagination for the show's trippy visuals, which is exactly what you'd expect someone to say after creating a world where inanimate objects have faces and a dragon mayor dances with a talking flute. Billy Hayes as Witchy Poo delivered one of television's most memorable villains, a cackling witch who rode a broom-powered vacuum cleaner and lived in a castle with minions including Orson Vulture, Seymour Spider, and the aptly named Stupid Bat. Despite producing only 17 episodes, the show lived on in syndication for years, ensuring that an entire generation would grow up with images of talking flutes and dragon mayors dancing in their heads. It also spawned a feature film, countless merchandise items, and established the Croft brothers as the go-to creators for trippy children's entertainment. Jack Wilde, who played Jimmy, was actually coming off an Oscar nomination for playing the Artful Dodger in Oliver. When he took this role from Oliver to Living Island, it was quite the career detour. Which of these shows totally creeped you out, but you still watched every week? Let us know in the comments section below. And there you have it. These are the 10 most bizarre kid shows that define Gen X's TV viewing experience. Which of these shows do you remember watching? Did we miss any of your favorite weird childhood TV experiences? Let us know. If this video unlocked childhood memories you'd successfully repressed until now, hit that like button and subscribe. We've got plenty more classic TV deep dives coming your way, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload.